welcome to Easter weekend services. I'm glad you guys are here. How many of you guys, that game was like fun? Some of you, how many of you were like, this was frustrating? You had to work together as a team. Some of you did better at this than others. All right, so you know what's really handy when it comes to those kind of games? Is having a person that just gets you, like knows what you're thinking just by a glance. Do you guys have a friend like that? Like, if you've ever had somebody, whether it could be a parent, it could be a sibling, it could be a friend, somebody that you know that they get you, and you get them. So, like, growing up, that was Kyle Turner for me. He and I, like, we could just look at each other from across the classroom if something was happening, and we would know what we were thinking, and it was just like, that's just how we were on the same wavelength. We spent enough time together. We knew those kinds of things. Now it's my wife, Chelsea. She can look at me and know exactly what I'm thinking, and so I don't even try to hide things because I wouldn't be successful anyway, because women, they're smart. And they can read guys' feelings before guys know that they're feeling the feelings. So it's fun to have somebody that can read you and can get to know you extremely well. Somebody who just understands you. Yeah, and if you haven't had somebody who's just like, who gets you, who just understands you, you should find somebody like that. Because it makes life much more enjoyable and much more, they keep you in line too. That when you're about to go out of line or step across something you know you shouldn't do, they can look at you and give you that look that you know, I'm being dumb, I should stop. Or you'll look at them as a challenge and you'll be like, this is dumb, I should stop, but I won't, to prove you wrong. And so sometimes there's that little tension, but finding someone who gets you and understands you is somebody who is somebody who is very important in life. But what many of us tend to miss is that we tend to think that having just that person who gets us would alleviate all the kind of stress and anxiety that we feel. How many of you, let me put it to you this way, you have been in a situation where you were really frustrated, you felt misunderstood by somebody? How many of you felt that? You felt misunderstood. Somebody, like a teacher, got you in trouble and you couldn't really fully express what was going on. And so you felt like frustrated because they didn't get the situation, they didn't get you. And oftentimes it's really easy to feel like misunderstood. And when you feel misunderstood, it's really nice to be able to go to your friend that does get you and just vent. You guys done this before? You go to that person and they're just like, oh my goodness, you're not going to believe what happened. They did this and I was like this, and they were like, and then you can just kind of vent. Like having somebody who can like be on the receiving end of that is really helpful. Help you blow off steam, help you kind of just get your thoughts out there without judgment. And let me just be real with you guys. In life, there's like one guarantee. Do you know what the guarantee is? No. There's actually a few, but one prominent guarantee is that in this life you will have trouble. Like you're going to have trouble. There's going to be things that are not going to go your way. You're going to get into trouble. You're going to get yourself into trouble. You're going to be a part of a situation that you didn't ask for. Your family's going to go through stuff. Your school's going to go through stuff. You're going to go through things that are just tough. You're going to answer something boldly in class for it to be embarrassingly wrong and everybody laugh at you. You're going to perform in a sport or a play and think that you nailed it, or practice it a million times and then go out there and then you fail in front of everybody. And you're going to have times like that where you just kind of want to shrink back in your shell and erase the last 10 seconds, right? You're going to say things that you wish you hadn't said. And there's going to be trouble in life. You know, there's always going to be those friends that are too busy to hang out with you. There's always going to be the times where you feel left out, the times where you feel like people don't get you. There's going to be times where life is just hard. And that's pretty much a guarantee in life, is that in this life, there's going to be trouble at some point or another. I want you just to do a little exercise with me. I want you to close your eyes. Go ahead, close your eyes. And I want you to think about with me, okay? Think about one area of your life where you need someone to understand. Maybe it's somewhere you feel like nobody understands this part of your life, but you need someone to understand this part of your life. Picture what that is for you right now. Something in your world that you just wish that somebody else would just get it. Okay, now open your eyes. Okay? There's always going to be trouble, and you're going to need that person. And honestly, you may expect me to say this because it's a church, but I'm going to go ahead and say it anyway. Oftentimes, we assume that there's nobody to get us. In fact, this is something that Chelsea and I have talked about a lot. There's lots of situations in your life you feel like, oh, they just don't get me. But there is someone who always does, and that person is Jesus. This whole series, we're talking about who is Jesus. Who is Jesus for your life? Who is Jesus? What does he signify for what happened at Easter 2,000 years ago? What does that mean for your future? What does that mean for your present? And the reality is we have a God, we have a Lord and a Savior and a Messiah named Jesus who completely and wholly understands us. Who understands our frustrations, who can sympathize with us, who knows where we've been, and not just because he's God and he's all-knowing, but because he has also been human. Right? If you've grown up in church, you've heard that before. You know that God came in the form of Jesus, and Jesus was fully human, but yet he was also fully God. So it's this like paradox we don't fully understand, can't understand because we're not God. But I know the math doesn't work out on that, but he was fully God and he was fully human. So he can sympathize and understand what it's like to have friends abandon you, to have people let you down, to have things that just go wrong in your life that are out of your control. But knowing Jesus changes everything, right? If you've ever been ditched by your friends, Jesus has been there, right? If you've ever felt like somebody hates you, Jesus has been there. If you ever felt sad or alone or tempted or angry or frustrated or tired, Jesus has been there. Jesus has been through all of those things. I know it's easy. We have somewhat of a celebrity complex when it comes to the way that we think about Jesus sometimes. Like, how many of you, you think about Jesus and you're like, man, life must have been so easy for him because he was God, right? Like, yeah, he was tempted, but not in the same way we were, right? Not in the same way we are. And it can be tempting to think that. How many of you guys know a small artist called Justin Bieber? Justin Bieber is a household name in this world because everybody knows his music. Everybody has at least heard his name. And Justin Bieber is one of those guys that maybe you're not a Justin Bieber fan, but if you think about any other kind of celebrity that you admire or look up to, or a sports star or whatever, you think of that person, it's really easy to idolize somebody who's famous. Because you think they've got money, they got fame, they got people who love them, they go to shows and people just cheer their name. Like, it must be really easy being a superstar, right? And honestly, like, Justin Bieber's, if you go look on Spotify, he's the #2 artist in the world, but he flirts with the #1 spot a lot. So, like, he is one of the most well-known, most listened to artists on the face of the planet. It's insane. I went on there just before this lesson, and he gets 79 million monthly listeners, according to Spotify. That's not even counting Apple Music or YouTube or whatever. So he gets a lot. The population of America is like 330 million. So that's a lot of people listening to Justin Bieber, okay? But that's globally. But it's easy to think, oh, well, their life must be so easy because that's Justin, right? He's Justin Bieber. It must be easy. It must be nice to be Justin Bieber, right? But the reality is, I know a lot of you are younger than I am, but Justin Bieber's like a couple years younger than me. And so I was like your guys' age in middle school when Justin Bieber started getting famous. He came out with that stupid Baby song, and I was not a fan of Justin Bieber for the longest time. Okay, he hit puberty, his voice sounded better, and then like I started to like some of his music, but I thought he was kind of trashy. Well, he talks openly about his faith now. He has become a Christian. He is outspoken about his faith, and he also acknowledges his own mistakes. He says, hey, you know what? I struggle with stuff all the time. In fact, a year ago, this weekend, Easter weekend last year, he released an EP, and it's basically a worship EP. It's telling his story. It's talking about why Jesus is worthy of being praised, and which for somebody of his caliber to do that is pretty insane. But in those lyrics, he talks about all the times he made mistakes. He talks about all his mess-ups and failures. The point being, we can tend to have a celebrity complex when it comes to the way that we think about people who are celebrities, who are well-known, and think, well, they're on a different level. You know, my struggles are so much worse than theirs, right? It's easy to make that assumption. And it's easy to do that with Jesus, too. To go, well, that's Jesus. He didn't have the kind of struggles that I have. But he did. He struggled in ways that we do. He struggled with the same things. He fought temptation. He knows what it's like to lose people that you love. He knows what it's like to go through hard times. Jesus has been there, done that. And so he can sympathize with us. And this is what he tells us in John's Gospel in chapter 16. He says, in this world you will have trouble, but and this is a big but. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. Why? Because, it's on the screen, I have overcome the world. Okay, so it's not a hopeless kind of endeavor that we're on this life where there's going to be trouble. He has overcome it. And he overcomes it with us. And he promises to be with us despite anything that we're going through in life. When it comes to our troubles, it's not just that Jesus has been there too. Well, that's great. Here Jesus says that he has been there and conquered it. And therefore we have nothing to fear when it comes to the hard things in life. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, for I have overcome the world. Now, does that mean that things are just going to be easy now? Like, I baptized a guy when I was a senior in high school. He was the first person I ever baptized. I had been evangelizing him all since like 6th grade. He was my neighbor. I tried to, tell him, hey, you should come to church. He would come once in a while. He would come to my small groups and stuff on Sunday nights. And then at our senior year, he decided to get baptized. And then not even 3 months later, he walked away. Still not a Christian to this day. And when I asked him, like, dude, what's going on? And he goes, I thought that becoming a Christian would make all my problems go away, and it didn't. And so somewhere along the way, either I didn't fully explain it to him, or I wasn't a good enough friend, or he had the wrong idea somehow, obviously. But a lot of times we think that. We think God's just our genie in a bottle that's just going to make all our problems go away if we start following him, and then that's just not true. It wasn't true for Jesus, and it's not true for us. But he has conquered anything that this world will throw at us, so we can have confidence in him, that because of Jesus, you are never alone. Because of Jesus, you don't have to go through any of the hardships in life alone. You can have somebody who gets you, who is with you, who walks with you. And he is with us through a lot of different things, which we're going to get into in a second. So because of Jesus, you are never alone. So if I were to give you some application points when it comes to this topic, when it comes to trusting that Jesus is that person who gets you, who understands you, there's ways that he shows up in your life. So first thing you have to do is you have to talk to Jesus. You have to pray, right? I've led a small group for many years, and to this day, I will just call on people in my group and like, all right, you're going to pray tonight. And every week, it's always this like, who's going to pray? And everybody like avoids eye contact. They don't want to look at you because like they don't want you to call on them to pray. And it's this weird thing that like we're not comfortable praying because we don't do it enough. Which, is it any wonder that we don't feel God's presence in our life? It's not just for us to go ask things of him. It's so that we invite him into our hearts. We have to be in communication with him. Just like you have to be in communication with that person who gets you in order for them to get you. You have to be in communication with Jesus. So talk to him. Secondly, talk to his people about your troubles. Okay? That God speaks to us through his people oftentimes. So you got to build relationships. Some of you may feel like, well, I'm not good at making friends. Okay, maybe. But you should practice. You should try. You should put yourself out there. You should put the phone down long enough to let yourself be bored and think of conversation starters. Think of ways that you can engage. Ask people about themselves. That's the number one pro tip in life. Ask people about themselves when you don't know what to talk about. People love to talk about themselves. And then they'll really like you because they'll think you're a good listener because you ask something about them. It's a great way to build bridges and build friends. So talk to his people. Build a community of Christ followers who can be there with you. And lastly, be with others when they hurt, right? You don't just go to church, you are the church. So don't just come to church for what you can or cannot get out of it, or because it's fun, or because you get candy, or whatever it is. Come to church because the rest of the church needs you. You're an integral part of it. And the people who are here need your presence, need your influence, need your voice in their life, and need to know that you get them, that you're there for them. And you can't do that unless you're there for others when they hurt. So, because of Jesus, you are never alone. And I want you, as you guys kind of wrap up this week, we're not going to have small group because we spent the majority of the time with your small group to play that escape room. But what I want you to think about as you guys head out this weekend, as you celebrate Easter with your family, is this. What's one area of your life where you need someone who truly understands? What's an area of your life where you need someone who truly understands? Think about that. Think about what you can do about that. And then I'll go ahead and pray for you, and then we'll be dismissed.